Okay, I'm told that I can't wander too far or something gets cut off. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for the invitation to speak with you this afternoon. As you heard from Scott, I am a veteran. I am currently the past chair of Commissionaires, but I also sit as an active member on the board. In terms of my military service, I've served in all environments, but principally the Army, and the Air Force. To round everything off, of course, I've got Gary here with me to represent the naval side. Before I begin my presentation, I'd like to get a sense of how many here are familiar with Commissionaires. Quite a crowd. Well, my next question is how many of you think that this is the face of Commissionaires? You'll notice that it's, he's got an Air Force cap on. Certainly, of course, for those of us that have served on our military bases and in our federal buildings, it was generally the older commissionaire that greeted you every morning when you came in and bid you adieu when you left at the end of the day. But that's not the only face of Commissionaires today. As the saying goes, we've come a long way. So this slide shows some of today's Commissionaires. They're forward-thinking, they're inclusive, they're excited for the future, they're very proud of the Commissionaires' past, they support the communities they protect, and they're strong, professional, and eager to serve. And many are not veterans. So what is the Corps of Commissionaires? Well, first of all, we're a federation, and we're a federation of 15 not-for-profit divisions representing security companies. We're Canada's only not-for-profit company, as you can see there. 14 of the divisions, including Victoria, are incorporated under their provincial societies acts. There's only one that's incorporated federally. The divisions are separate legal entities governed by all volunteer boards. So in Victoria, we have 11 governors, which everyone comes with an incredible depth of experience that obviously adds very much to the makeup of the board. 3 of our current honorary governors are actually RUSI members, and that would be Ed Fitch, Cam Ross, and Michael Keynes. And Diana Dewar's husband, John, was the CEO of the Commissionaires prior to Gary. I also found out in chatting earlier at the bar that Archie Brown was a past chair of Commissionaires Victoria, the Islands and Yukon. We can have, on the board, we can have up to 5 governors who are not veterans of the CF or the RCMP. And they range from people that have been ambassadors to deans of business colleges and other business backgrounds. So they bring an incredible wealth of experience to the board. This slide here, very poor, unfortunately, but it shows where the divisions are located. And you can see on the west coast, the island and the Yukon is obviously CVIY. Our sister division has the mainland, and it's called BC Corps. In Alberta, there are 2 divisions. Northern Alberta Division also has responsibility for the Northwest Territories and the Yukon, or Nunavut, I'm sorry. Saskatchewan has 2 divisions, Manitoba 1. Ontario has 4 divisions, with Ottawa Division responsible for quite a large area of northwestern Ontario, including obviously Ottawa. There are 3 other divisions there are Kingston, Great Lakes, which is located in Toronto, and the, what have I got here? Great Lake Hamilton Division. Quebec Division, very large division. It was an amalgamation of two previous divisions. There are 3 divisions in Atlantic Canada. You have Newfoundland and Labrador, New Brunswick and PEI, and Nova Scotia. Now, whoops, I keep going the wrong way here. These 15 divisions have annual revenues of $700 million. We employ approximately 4,400, 4,500, it obviously varies, veterans. We have 50 offices serving in over 1,200 communities. And as previously mentioned, we're governed by all volunteer boards. So why do we matter? Well, we're the largest private security employer of veterans. Over 90% of our veterans value working with other veterans. We have an 83% retention rate. The industry average is around 40. We serve multiple veterans' needs. We support, for example, the Broadmead Veterans Center and veterans housing initiatives, as well as a number of other things. And I think most importantly at all, in Victoria, we return approximately 92% of all of our revenues back to the commissionaires themselves. But let's go back to the very beginning. For those that are interested in the history and how the Corps began, went the wrong way again. They were created in England by Captain Sir Edward Walter in 1859, a little before my time, after the Crimean War, when the veterans, essentially when they came back, they were left to fend for themselves. What he could see the skills and experience that they brought and that it could be applied in employment after their service. It's a history that is built on a social vision. Of course, back then, those who were returning from conflict faced incredible hardship. There was no provision for housing and little in the way of help with physical injuries. And as you can see from these original 8 members, they all had some physical disability. So their employment opportunities were very, very limited. Fast forward to 2008, and that original Corps in the UK became what's known as Corps Security. They've changed their focus a bit. They've changed their name, obviously, and they have become, in the UK, a completely private company. But they've never forgotten their original purpose, which is to provide employment for ex-servicemen. But what they have done is that they've broadened their purpose to provide employment and support to those most in need and to try to focus on providing a living wage for all of their employees. In Canada, the Commissionaires, I'll get this right, was founded in 1925. It was based on the British model. In our case, it was to provide employment for the thousands of First World War veterans who had returned home to find that their country had changed in a major way. The Canadian Corps began with the 3 divisions in Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver, and it wasn't until 1937 that the Victoria Division was created. So as a Corps, as you can see, we were founded with this social mandate. That is to provide meaningful employment that meets the needs of veterans of the Canadian Armed Forces, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, their families, and others who wish to contribute to the security and well-being of Canadians. This social mandate is virtually identical to the one that was proposed almost 100 years ago. The difference is that they've added RCMP, families, and others. Now, we did have a video. Unfortunately, it will be available for you, I understand, in your newsletter, but because it's internet-based, we couldn't show it to you today. So a bit about the Federation. The Federation's purpose is to establish and maintain a bond among the member divisions. But as indicated previously, the divisions are independent legal entities. It is the Federation, however, that holds the license for the word Commissionaires, the logo, and the tagline, trusted everywhere, every day. The Federation also represents the divisions on matters of national interest. And Scott specifically asked me to speak about the right of first refusal. So I'll get into that. Perhaps a little more than you might want, but I think it will let you know just how much the RFR has been a part of the Commissionaires and the fact that it's something that the government, in fact, has been very good at renewing for us every year. So as you can see, it's for guard services only. It's a policy mechanism that requires most government departments to take the services, as you can see. There are exceptions. CATSA is an exception, CRA, the Canadian Food Services Agency, but most government departments are required to look to Commissionaires first before they seek other services outside of that. The RFP, as I indicated, has been renewed by Treasury Board every year since its inception in 1945. And in 1945, it was essentially brought out to deal with all of the veterans that were coming back, this time from the Second World War. So it has been extended now. It was just extended for a 3-year period to 2026. But there's no guarantee that this right of first refusal will remain. The reason for that, for those of you familiar with how government contracting works, there is a thing called the National Master Standing Offer, which is the instrument used for the RFR. There is a requirement on that contract for all people on the NMSO that there must be 60% veterans. Very difficult to achieve. Partly that is due to the fact that we have a declining veterans population. We also are in a position that we have a number of commercial clients, and the rates on the NMSO, frankly, have not been as good as what we can have on our commercial client contracts. So the attraction for a veteran, if you have an option to take a job that pays you a little bit more, chances are that you will. We're hoping that this will change, and Gary can perhaps speak to that a little bit more. We're also faced with a very significant lobbying effort by our competitors who say that they too can provide jobs for veterans. Yes, they can, but I will add that they do not have the same culture that we do. And as indicated on one of the earlier slides, 90% of our veterans enjoy working with other veterans. And there is a very much military way of doing things and a culture. You don't need everybody to be a veteran to have that culture. And finally, there's a lack of appetite, understandably, for the government to enter into sole source contracts. And it is one of the few sole source contracts that the government still holds today. Fortunately for us, we've had a number of politicians that have been very supportive of giving back to veterans in this way. There are a number of myths, though, that have been circulating, and concerning the right of first refusal. They have come from our competitors. I'm going to dispel two of them today. So one of those, as you can see, is that because of the RFR, the federal government pays millions more annually for guard services, an alleged 15% above the industry average rate. This disinformation has been circulating for well over a decade, and annual audits, including a special audit by the Treasury Board Secretariat, have confirmed that the RFR negotiated rates are in fact lower than industry rates. And many of you may be familiar with lowest bidder. They definitely will go for one of the lower prices. I went the wrong way again, didn't I? I apologize. So, just in case you didn't get a chance to hear. Another myth is that the profitable RFR arrangement gives commissionaires an unfair advantage when they compete with other companies for non-government contracts, as the company is in a position to use the surpluses it makes to underbid competitors and grow buying other private security companies. Well, there's a lot wrong with this particular statement. First of all, as a not-for-profit, we can't be profitable for legal and tax reasons. We have no shareholders, no owners. And if there are surpluses, they're redirected back to the commissionaires themselves or within the parameters of the not-for-profit mandate. So I'd like to reinforce that as we provide these services, we do so as a private security company, and we must compete for contracts against the likes of the Garda Worlds, the G4Ss, the Footprints, Paladins, Securitas, etc. As I mentioned before, our commercial clients account for over 55% of our business. As a result, we must be a successful business as we operate in this very highly competitive business environment. If we were not a successful business, we could not deliver on our social mandate. Thus, we try to strive for being that, as Gary always says, that awesome business that is there for veterans. So we do that by retaining our unique and differentiating culture that we have created, and we operate with all of our commissionaires, whether they be veterans or not. Now we'll put it the right way and turn it over to Gary.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. As introduced, my name is Gary Paulson. I'm the CEO of Commissionaires Victoria, the Islands and Yukon. I'm into my 7th year with the company. I am a veteran. I served in the Canadian Forces for 29 years in the Navy. Loved every minute of it. Woke up after 29 years and wanted to have a change. And so I ended up in the Port of Prince Rupert for 10 years, transforming that old break bulk terminal into a container port terminal. And so it was the most exciting 10 years of business I had before I came to the Corps of Commissionaires. And this is the hardest job I've ever had, is being the CEO of Commissionaires. It's way harder than Gulf Wars, way harder than tracking down a bunch of Al-Qaeda culprits. It's a tough business we're in, but very, very important business. So a pleasure to share our story of transforming CVIY into a modern, full-service and fully integrated private security company. And if you leave today with nothing else, please leave knowing that your Corps Commissionaires on Vancouver Island is a full-service private security company, fully integrated, and the largest private security company on Vancouver Island. No one else comes close. We're a $27 million enterprise. The other competitors around us are maybe 1 or 2 or 3 million. We're the largest private, fully integrated security company no one's heard about, but we do business every day with over 250 clients, as Scott talked about at the introduction. Adele was part of the board and past board chair in overseeing a strategic shift on how we viewed CVIY as a private security business. Over the past 5 or 6 years, CVIY underwent a significant transformation, shifting from a focus solely on serving veterans to becoming a modern, full-service private security company with best-in-class benefits and wages. This pivot has enabled CVIY to grow and evolve while still maintaining a commitment to serving veterans both now and into the future. To Adele's point, the board and the management team realized that if we didn't become an outstanding private security enterprise, a real business for our market, and be competitive within our market, we might not be here to serve those veterans. But as long as we're the best-in-class private security company serving this market, we'll always be there for our commissionaires this year, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. So that was the sort of subtle pivot that we did as an organization. By expanding those services and improving the quality of our offerings, CVIY is better positioned to meet the needs of a wider range of clients and customers. Additionally, by offering competitive wages and best-in-class benefits, we can attract and retain top talent in the industry, ensuring that our company continues to provide high-quality services for years to come. Overall, this pivot demonstrates a forward-thinking approach to doing business and a commitment to both serving veterans and staying competitive in the marketplace. We are not a government agency. We are grateful to have the RFR for government services contracts, but in our view, because of the quality service we deliver, we are ready to compete for those contracts on the open market tomorrow. This is our market, this is our geographical area, and the market segments align pretty much with the population base that you see on those slides. About 68% of our business is south of the Malahat. 68% of our business, 68% of our revenues. Our headquarters is located on Cloverdale Avenue here in town. We have offices in Nanaimo, Courtenay, Comox, and Whitehorse. The Yukon joined CVIY in 1999. And just recently, we have acquired Fleming Protection and Security in Whitehorse in 2022. So we're also growing through acquisition. Note the geographical area of Vancouver Island, Haida Gwaii, and the Yukon and the population base. And of course, our sister division, which is Commissionaires BC, has the rest of the province for their market. CVIY likes to think of ourselves, and we've always done that, of punching above our weight class. We're running a $27 million enterprise. Our colleagues in CBC, who have the rest of the province, run a $33 million enterprise. And there's a separate story there, but we won't get into that. Key takeaway, again, CVIY is a full-service premium private security company, the largest by far on Vancouver Island. Our competitors are Paladin, Garda, Secure Guard, Footprints, and mom-and-pop operations. There are no barriers to entering the private security market. If you and I go out and get a private security license, we can open up a business, a security company, and we can compete for the contracts. Not the RFR contracts, but the commercial contracts. Guarding remains our largest revenue stream, with D&D as our largest, what we refer to our $5 million client. And we take good care of our $5 million clients because we're a professional private security company. The RCMP scene security, the live video monitoring, CCTV cameras, consulting, and threat risk assessments, and cash services businesses are all new lines of business that we've started over the last 2 or 3 years. And we are the only division within the Corps of Commissionaires that does cash services up in the Yukon and provides white glove live video monitoring services, which I'll talk more about. From a market and business perspective, the RFR and the federal government NMSO contract provides us a monopoly in our market, and so we're grateful for that. That NMSO nationally is valued at $170 million. So that's why our competitors are banging at the gates to get their hands on the RFR and the NMSO contracts. Both the RCMP Guard and RCMP Scene Security contracts were won in a competitive bid for the whole province of BC in collaboration with our sister division at CBC in Vancouver. Scene security is when the police put the yellow tape around a murder scene or a breakout scene. And so we competed for that contract for the RCMP, and it's the commissionaires that provide that security for the RCMP throughout all of British Columbia. I just highlight that because the collaboration we do with our sister division in Vancouver, our market is Vancouver Island, Haida Gwaii, pretty much, and then the Yukon. And then we've got our sister division who is running Commissionaires BC. But our clients, BC Hydro, ICBC, they look for a private security deliverer for the entire province. So we have to collaborate with our sister division, which is private, independent from CVIY. They have their own board, they have their own CEO, but that's where we have to collaborate to get a business province-wide. We have approximately 800 employees and a working payroll of about 650 commissionaires every couple of weeks. So you can see that CVIY makes a significant impact in our industry and also our local community. By offering essentially part-time employment opportunities, we are providing flexibility and work-life balance for our employees, which can be especially important for veterans who have unique needs and obligations. It's important to ensure that all employees are treated fairly and have access to the same benefits and opportunities regardless of their employment status. It's also important to keep in mind that managing a workforce of this size can be a complex task. CVIY continues to modernize to have effective systems in place for tracking employee hours, managing payroll, and providing benefits and training. And we have clear communication channels in place, such as our Whale Tales monthly newsletters, to ensure all employees are aware of what the company is doing and where we're going in the future. Overall, by prioritizing the needs of our employees and accommodating veterans, CVIY is demonstrating a commitment to both social responsibility and business success. And when veterans join us, they are all ages, but the median age is 54. And then when they join us, after perhaps a second career at that median age of 54, then they stay for 20 or 30 years. 54, take my shoes off, 50, 64, 74, 84. We have one commissionaire who just celebrated, Jerry Ratchford, just turned 95 years old. Jerry is as fit as you good-looking gentlemen are. He Korean War veteran. He's been with us for 34 years. And Jerry works a full shift, 40-hour week at Dockyard, day in and day out. And just to illustrate another example, when I brought Jerry into my office and I said, Jerry, why are you still doing this? He looked great. And I said, boss, you're putting the groceries on the table. I got a small pension. It pays for the rent. You're paying for the groceries. And it gets emotional for me to say that, but you can get the sense of what we're trying to do here by being that awesome private security company for Jerry Ratchford and all the other veterans and commissionaires that need us for those good paying jobs. And we're proud that we're getting the wages up for them as well because we're running a proper private security business. It bears repeating, we are the largest private employer of veterans in Canada. No matter what you hear out there, no one else comes close to us. Guarding is our largest revenue stream. Commissionaires play a critical role in protecting Canada's infrastructure, and especially so during COVID-19 pandemic. Our commitment to providing security services 24/7, 365 days a year is a testament to the dedication and professionalism of our commissionaires and our organization. The fact that the Commander Marpak, Admiral Topshee at the time, wrote a letter to our board and to the management team commending our commissionaires for protecting CFB Esquimalt and all his assets during a time that everyone else was working from home is a clear indication of the valuable contributions commissionaires and CVIY makes to national security. We were there when no one else was. And this includes Navy bases, warships, protecting submarines, air bases, aircraft, airports, ammunition depots, CFAD, that's us, universities, Coast Guard bases. We provide security for Government House, for the LG's Government House. We are protecting the offices and buildings in what my team calls the war zone on Pandora. We provide concierge service in condos and buildings, provide security for live events, protect homes and property. The list goes on and on and on. That's what Commissionaires does. That's what CVIY does. We differentiate ourselves from our competitors by the quality of our people, our training and our benefits, and the leadership and support. We pay for all the training. We pay for all the uniforms. We have an RSP benefit. We pay medical. We pay dental. No other private security company on Vancouver Island, or in fact in British Columbia, has the benefits that we pay our commissionaires. Why? Because we're not for profit. And as Adele said, we are required to push out the cash to the commissionaires. 92% of it goes into their pockets. We're a $27 million business. If we break even or have a $200,000 surplus, because it's not net income, because we're not for profit, it's a surplus, then we've had a good year. Why? Because we're serving our commissionaires and our veterans.
Do you offer pension?
No. The 2.5% is for every dollar earned is the best we can do for an RSP. But we're the only company that provides, only private security company that provides full medical and dental. And it's a very, very popular one. We brought that one in about 5-6 years ago. Investigations and threat risk assessment, those are fairly new lines of business. Non-core policing, RCMP detention and guards. We've talked about that a little bit. Mobile patrol, I just wanted to highlight, we have an operations center, a security operations center, which is manned 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We do have a modern fleet of hybrid vehicles and provide mobile patrols, which are supported by our operations center. Younger commissionaires are using their time with commissionaires to gain valuable experience as they work towards their career goals with the RCMP or CVSA or others. Commissionaires provides an excellent opportunity for individuals to develop those skills and experience needed to pursue a career in law enforcement or security or a good and flexible part-time job to help them pay for university, like this young man. We're just down in Cloverdale and we're hiring. Several younger commissionaires that have come to us, enjoy working with veterans, and they've gone off to RCMP depots, and we celebrate that when our younger commissionaires go off. Live video monitoring. We have live video monitoring which uses analytics and CCTV cameras, and that's our newest line of business for our market. Approximately 3 years ago, we partnered with a local company to start installing CCTV cameras as part of our full-service offering. The live video monitoring was then done offshore initially, and the quality and the reliability was poor. Our clients complained to us that they were not happy with the live video monitoring, that somebody in Hungary was looking at the video screen for the cameras that were put into a certain site here in Victoria. Our clients complained to us about it, so we pivoted and we started our own white glove live video monitoring service, which has been a huge success. So it's our business, we run it, and now we're expanding that live video monitoring right across the country. We have customers in Manitoba, Ontario, BC that use us for live video monitoring, the white glove service. I'll explain a bit more about that. Here's a case study that illustrates what I've been saying about us as being a full-service security company and fully integrated. The Gain Auto Group, which has got a lot of high-value premium car lots here on Vancouver Island, operating 22 premier automobile dealerships, the VI racetrack, and the Erie Resort. The problem they had is that they have all these auto parks with no fences, and so anybody can go on to their lots 24 hours a day. So they had break-ins all the time. You'll see in another picture about folks that go to work at 2 o'clock in the morning purposely to break into the vehicles, to do drugs, to vandalize, to steal, catalytic converters, etc., etc., etc. The police were not responding to it because it was always after the fact. So Commissionaires Victoria came up with a full suite of services. We did a risk assessment of what they needed, and we came up with an implementation plan that included CCTV cameras with AI analytics, smart analytics. We came up with live video monitoring, white glove service, and talk-down cameras, where the camera talks down and says, "Hi, good evening. The lot is closed. Please leave the lot immediately. A car has been dispatched." And then we have mobile patrol, which we provide 24/7, and then we have guards that support that.
Excuse me, what is white glove service?
So what happens is in the market, in the private security market, when you put a camera up in a construction site, for example, because you're required to do that for insurance, then you look for the cheapest offshore monitoring center. So it'll go to Hungary, or it could go to the Philippines, it could go to Texas, and so they are not providing that customer service. They'll say, somebody will say, "Oh, look, there's been a break-in on that camera. I guess I should phone somebody about that." And then, 2 hours later, there's a phone call back to the construction company in Vancouver. "Hey, you've got a break-in on your site." But then the break-ins happen. The stuff has been stolen, and now you've got to deal with it. A white glove service means our team is monitoring live. The camera system is there. It talks down to you and say, "Hey, look, get away from the property. If you don't leave now, we're going to dispatch a mobile patrol. The police are on their way." And that took care of about 90% of the problem. But it's live video monitoring with high quality. We call it white glove service as opposed to after the fact. So that was the problem, and as I talked about, we designed that for them. So here's the case study where they went from 120 break-ins in 2021 to only 3 successful break-ins, 0 police arrests to 14 police arrests. Couldn't measure trespassing, and with that talk-down camera, it's about a 90% success rate when we talk down on our cameras to all our customers, "Please leave the area." 90% of them do that. And this is just the Gain Group saying how much they love their service, and we use that for marketing. Smart analytics for humans and also for geographical areas. I'm not sure if I can get this to work. The video's not going to work, but this is an example. So what's happening is that this is from our operations center, our live video monitoring operations center, and we're monitoring hundreds and hundreds of cameras. And it's somebody who walks onto the property, and okay, so there you see him walking onto the property. I think he's looking for a catalytic converter, but this happens 24 hours a day. The sound is not going to come through here, but as this individual is looking out of the vehicle, you can see his backpack, which is full of tools, so he's up to no good. But right about now, there's a voice from the sky saying, "Hey, you're on private property. leave the area immediately, the security team or police have been dispatched to your site, and off he goes. And that's what happens 90% of the time now with our service. So we've contributed to 16 police apprehensions. And I'll just bring your attention to the tools of the trade here on the right-hand side. Like these guys here in Victoria, they're going to work. They've got their backpack and they mean business. And so we went from an unsolvable problem and we solved the problem for our community and for the gang group. We're doing it also for the Downtown Business Association. We have lots of other commercial clients that we do that for. Completely off script now, and it happens. Sorry, Adele. Yeah, it always happens. The complete transparency, so our clients see what we're doing. They see what we see. We send them reports. And here's another line of business that we do, Home Watch, which also illustrates the fully integrated security services. So if you go away on holiday and you're going to Hawaii or Costa Rica for 3 weeks, our mobile drivers will go to your residence. They have TrackTech software. Well, they'll take a picture of your house, inside your house. They'll water your plants, and they'll do all other services for a price, and give you peace of mind while you're away, and send you those pictures. So that's a good business line for us as well. We provide RCMP accredited fingerprinting services, criminal record checks and other background checks, pardons and waivers services, process serving and other ID services, and we now provide all of those, including our Yukon location, which we just opened that service last week.
So will we be able to help Mr. Trump out with a pardon if he needs one?
We could. It'd cost him, though. And this remains a very profitable line of business for us at CVIY. That's just us advertising our new Courtenay location as part of our business growth and business development. You know, we've been in and out of these areas, but we've committed to growing Courtenay, Comox, Campbell River. We've committed to growing in Whitehorse, and that requires risk. It requires business risk. It requires investment. It requires a board that understands the business opportunities, the business risks, and a management team that are prepared to take those risks to grow the private security business. And finally, we're approaching the end here. CNO, we talked about Commissionaires National Office in Ottawa. They support the 15th CEO group called the National Business Management Committee, and they also provide support to the 15 board chairs. But through their initiative, we've introduced the personal home and auto group insurance, BMO special rates. When I came and joined the Commissionaires, got a big discount on my mortgage rate through BMO because I was a Commissionaire. And the Heroes Vacation Club, all available to current and past Commissionaires. This is the picture of success for our company. Looking up ahead to 2024, we want to be a 30 million company with starting pay rates of $21 an hour. That's pretty good for our market. It could be better. I think when Adele and I started here, our base pay rate was $14.60. Now we're approaching $21 an hour. We want clients to have a good picture of what we are, which is an awesome private security business. And we want to make sure that we project a modern full-service security to the community in which we serve. We know the value of a veteran. This was a program that started 4 or 5 years ago just to remind ourselves and our clients about that we are a veteran organization. And this is my last slide. We know the value of a reservist. I'm going to make a quote here from a past board chair as I wrap up, from Ed Fitch, in fact. It was Ed Fitch at the board table. who, one of our past board chairs and one of your members, Ed Fitch, would ask me as the CEO from time to time, because we talk about making acquisitions and growing the company and taking risk and pushing into that market and new lines of business. So Ed Fitch would say, tell me, CEO, does every veteran who walks through the door looking for a job get a job? Because I was a 4-ringer and he was a 2-star, I said, yes, sir. And he said, okay, then we're good. And that's why we are completely and passionately committed to do at CVIY, build a vibrant, best-in-class private security company so there will always be a place for that veteran that wants or needs a job. Thank you.
So we have time for questions, but I would like to know the questions to Adele or Gary. Because I was looking at the Commissionaires' website, and I noticed there was a section on drones and uses of drones for security purposes. Does Commissionaires Victoria use drones?
Commissionaires Victoria does not use drones. The only division that does use drones is Northern Alberta, and he does it because it's cool, but it's not profitable. But they still do it because I think they'll go off and maybe inspect some of the oil pipelines up in Northern Alberta, but it's not a profitable business at all because nobody wants to pay for it. But they're the only one that has a drone.
Sorry, you mentioned in Yukon now you do cash services.
Yes.
Do you have armed commissionaires now?
Do we what?
Do you have armed commissionaires?
Almost. So when we acquired Fleming Protection and Security, they were doing cash services business. They were doing it for Garda because Garda has a national contract with the banks, and they'll outsource that. So we said we'll continue to do that, but the contract that the Fleming Protection was supposed to be armed, they were not. So we're in negotiations today with Garda Security to get a 2-year contract, and we have started the training of our commissionaires in the Yukon to be armed. So they will be armed. The board is aware of it. We've talked about it at the board table. It's a good line of business for us. It's very profitable, and so we have made a decision at CVIY that we will arm our guards in Whitehorse, and we're looking at the same opportunity here in Victoria for cash services.
I just wonder what the legal or operational reasons are for incorporating 14 divisions independently.
It's interesting when you go back in the history. Prior up to 1937, everything was controlled out of Ottawa, the center of the universe, right? And the divisions decided that no, they didn't want that. And that's when they became incorporated under their Provincial Societies Acts. So, as I said, there's one that's incorporated federally. That is an option, but nobody seems to want to go there. They still, and I think, Archie, with your experience back in the 2000s, there was a big push once again to centralize everything in Ottawa, but that was not met with success from those that wanted to have that happen.
It just seems there would be some economies of scale.
Yes. Yeah, so I mean, if you, and it's not like we haven't had these discussions at the board table. I mean, if you look at the map that Adele showed with regard to economies of scale, so you ask the question, well, why don't we just have one division for British Columbia? Why not just one division for Alberta? Or better still, why not one division for Western Region? So then we'd have the economies of scale, but then we'd be better positioned to compete against the Garda, which are global companies. So Garda can come into our market, for example, our little market here, and buy the business. that, you know, they see that they're our big competitors. So they can go buy a contract at a low bill rate that we just can't compete with, because they'll make it up in, you know, the Mediterranean or in cash services or in some other line of business, because they're a global company. So those are the folks that we have to be, that's why we have to be sharp as a business to be able to compete with them. But that comes up every once in a while, and then, you know, are we still a viable business? You bet. Are we still serving the needs of our veterans in our community? You bet. Are we growing? Yes, we are. Are we diversifying? Yes, we are. So we're good here in Victoria on Vancouver Island, but it doesn't mean from a business perspective that's not something that will keep coming up from time to time.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that when you look at the different business markets, there are some very significant differences as you go across the country. So, you know, you also have to bring that into the equation, because what tends to happen when you centralize is you forget about some of the uniquenesses.
I have a question regarding that unincorporated federally. What's the meaning of that? What's the difference between provincial and federal? And is that contract different? Does that society work differently? Does it work out?
It essentially operates the same. There were some, it's actually Great Lakes Division in Toronto. So it was one of the original divisions, and when they incorporated federally.
Yeah.
Question about the video monitoring. I realize that you corrected the problem, so sorry to go back and rub it in, but not intentionally. But why, I'm trying to understand why you would ever outsource to other countries live video monitoring.
It's maybe an economies of scale issue, concern, because it's cheaper.
So is that why you did it?
Well, that's why everybody does it. That's right. And so, but interesting to your point, if you look at Victoria now, there's now 3 companies that are doing what we call white glove live video monitoring service, because our clients, the market and the requirements of private security and what's happening, you know, downtown Pandora, everybody's looking for that better solution, and it only comes by having a local solution, which costs them a lot more money for them to get that live video monitoring service.
So are you saying that when you started and you outsourced it, that clients wouldn't pay for it unless it was at that price, which you could only do if it was outsourced?
Yeah. Okay. Good. Great question. So, because some clients still, like the construction, for example, out by Home Depot there, out by the university, the new construction. So there's a construction site there. We bid on that to put in our smart cameras. They said that that's too expensive. We don't want it. We're going to go for just the cheaper cameras that we are required to put in for insurance purposes. So they're check. We'll do the live video monitoring. No thanks. Don't want that. You're too expensive. CVIY. We're just going to go with the offshore monitoring, and then we can tell the insurance company, yes, someone's monitoring the camera. They really don't care about that. But when you take the Gain Auto Group, which has got, you know, high-priced vehicles that they have to protect, and customers and their employees, or the Downtown Business Association here in Victoria, they want the high-quality cameras, they want the high-quality service, and they're willing to pay for it now. They weren't willing to pay for it 5 years ago or 10 years ago, but they are now, because it's what you need in today's market.
Yeah, and I think in answer to your question, we did have, when we first got into the camera business, one of the companies that we were using to partner with had an offshore. That's how they did their business. So we inherited that. But we recognized very quickly that that wasn't the answer, that the clients actually wanted something local. So we started, Gary and his folks started this up. But I also think, when you look at something like TELUS, when TELUS came in and bought Price's Alarms, for example, they go offshore. And we recognized that there was a market niche where there were a number of clients that didn't want that offshore piece. So that came as a new business line.
An advertising model might be hire Canadians for Canadian security and try to exclude the foreign influence.
Is that?
Well, we certainly capitalized on that, and it's a great business line.
Yeah, it's. I forgot to mention it. Like in a startup, from a return on investment for an ROI, I think we invested. I think it was about 90,000. Our first year we did 250,000 in revenue. Next year we'll do $500,000. So the growth is like a hockey stick because everybody wants it. And then Commissionaires Manitoba said, "Hey Gary, can you take my customers because they're not happy with offshore? Can you? Because you're commissionaires and we're commissionaires. Can you do the live video monitoring for my clients in Winnipeg?" And I said, "Sure, we'll do it," and we are. So the growth has been like a hockey stick, and so it's very, very exciting. And then we have the CCTV cameras. We make money on that. We make money on the guards on mobile patrol. We charge them for response for the mobiles, and we make money on everything, and so we keep growing the business. Yes, sir.
You mentioned that to keep the RFR, you have to have like a 60% veteran rate for it, like 60% of the employees have to be veterans, correct?
It's 60% of the hours have to be done by veterans, correct?
But as of right now, you have only about 45% of veterans, correct? Those are the numbers.
Right. So for us on the RFR, we're supposed to do 60% of the hours work must be veterans. We are at 56%. Okay, so we're not quite at the 60. But we're one of the highest in the country. Most of the other divisions are around 30%.
Is there a plan to hit 60? Is there a plan already in place to move towards the 60% mark?
There's a desire, but probably not a plan because one of the things that we talked about, half of our employees are veterans and half are not. I think, Archie, during your time, it would have been 85 or 90% of the employees would have been veterans, okay? And then now it's 50-50. And the veteran count for the Corps of Commissionaires is reducing about 3.4% a year. So we're never going to make it. We're never going to make those 60% numbers again. And to Adele's point, we're trying to work with Veterans Affairs to say, well, okay, let's forget about the 60% count because our commissionaires, as Adele pointed out, they like working our commercial contracts because we charge higher wages on the commercial ones. So if we charge higher wages and 90% goes to the commissionaire, they're making more money working on the commercial sites than they are on the government site. So why aren't you counting that as well, Veterans Affairs? Because we are employing veterans. So all that stuff is in the mix right now. Yes, sir.
You said you were doing threat assessments. What did you mean by that? Threat assessments on individuals?
So we do threat risk assessments mostly for buildings. We do all of DFO's building threat risk assessments. Look at the building. Do you have cameras? Do you have proper lighting? Ingress, egress. We do that. We've done threat risk assessments for CFB Esquimalt when they were looking to establish a new marina because the old yacht club was taken over. We did that threat risk assessment. We do threat risk assessments for private clients who are, Pearson College called us and said, we need you to give us a full service because we need you to do a threat risk assessment because their problem is quite interesting. Pearson College, fascinating place. Over 150 countries are sending individuals there. They're all between the ages of 16 and 19. Lights out are at 10. And guess what happens after 10 o'clock? Right. So my good classmate Ty Pyle called me and said, Gary, I need your help, man. what do we do? So we'll do a threat risk assessment for Pearson College and egress. We're going to put down talk down cameras. So when these young folks come out of their dorms at 10:30 at night, we say, "Good evening. Lights are out. You're not supposed to be out here. You're on candid camera, just so you know." So we invite you to go back into your dorm, and then we'll also provide guards and mobiles to support that. But we'll do a whole threat risk assessment that they require, by the way, for the UN. So we'll be able to do that as well.
It's really quite an excellent concept then, because a camera without the voice is an infringement on personal attention. You can't do that. You can't survey people for no reason. But having the voice tells them it's there. You can't do it surreptitiously.
Right, and you'll have signs that we will post, like, this area is monitored by video. You are under video surveillance.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Last question, please.
I just said my question probably elaborates on the points you made previous. The Corps of Commissionaires are divided in these divisions, and the most division is on BC mainland. When you're bidding for trying to get contracts for entities that cross the various division lines, how would that work out?
Great question. Super question. So, clients look at the province of British Columbia. They know they have commissionaires on Vancouver Island, and they know that they have commissionaires on mainland BC. The clients they don't care about you're a not-for-profit. They know you're a private security company, and they want one quote. So what has to happen? It's difficult. So the client, we have to go to CBC and say, hey, look, we like this opportunity. It's good for us. It uses our mobile patrol. We can make money at it, but it's for the entire province. And now Commissionaires BC, our good friends and colleagues, say, Gary, I hear you, not interested. We're not going to bid on this. So then we're just kind of screwed, right? I can't bid for the whole province because I just don't have the logistics to run all of BC, plus it's not my territory. And vice versa. If he calls me up and says, I really like this opportunity, and it's one site for Vancouver Island, it's going to cost us, X amount of man hours. I said, well, we're not interested in that either. So that's the difficult part. Back to why don't you just have one division to serve all of BC, which is, from a business perspective, is a reasonable question. But again, with the mandate, good question.
And I guess, Gary, too, occasionally there's agreements that we say, all right, we can enter your normal area of operations to do something if they are...
But they're good examples, though. Like the RCMP guards, we provide all the guards and matrons for the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. So when they put a bad guy in their cells in the province of British Columbia, they're guarded and protected and overseen by commissionaires. We won that private contract for the whole province, so we did collaborate on that, and we won it. When the RCMP said, you guys are doing such a good job on that, can you provide the scene security for all the province? So good margins, good bill rates, good pay rates. We said yes, so we worked together, and we won that for the whole province. So we do... when it works, collaborate and get those big contracts. The RCMP contract is our most profitable contract right now. For us, it's $2 million in revenue. For CBC, I think it's $4 million in revenue, but very, very profitable. Really high-paying wages for our commissionaires. So, $22, $23, $24 an hour.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.